course, the crowd wants Reed to go for it. Wouldn't be surprised if he did on 4th down and 1.
So, anyways, with that, time yours.
Welcome to 4th and 1. I'm Tod Palmer, joined by Nick Jacobs, and another victory edition, Nick Jacobs. But are you going to be 21 Pilots, and are you going to bring down my level of concern with the fact that the Chiefs have gone on the road to a pair of teams with 4 wins on the season, maybe 5. I didn't pay attention to how Denver did today, and have just frankly had fairly lackluster showings with the 34-28 win at Denver, and then the 30-24 overtime win on Sunday at Houston. I mean, where is your level of concern right now?
Well, my first concern is the 21 Pilots thing went over my head. So there's that one. That's my first love.
21 Pilots is a band. They have a song called Level of Concern. The hook is, you could bring down my level of concern.
Well, we'll give it a whirl. I don't know. It's not something I sing at karaoke night. I apologize. Maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe I'll listen to it and be like,
you should come to karaoke night with me. I'll sing that. I've expanded my repertoire to like Machine Gun Kelly these days. I'm an animal. I'm a wild man.
I don't know. People are gonna have to be socially distant because, I mean, we're gonna have to keep the spacing right now. Okay. I'm on a December to remember right now with 15 of 30 some days, 15 days off of 30 some days in the month.
Yeah.
That I have PTO. It's been fantastic.
My time starts on Wednesday. You will not see me for 12 of the next 14 days.
Oh, torn up about this, Todd. What will I do with that time?
I know. Oh, you had to hug yourself.
Probably watch more coaches film. But anyways, going to look, the first thing I want to say about the Texans is I wasn't stunned to see the game go this way, and this isn't a knock on the Chiefs. The Texans had a really strong showing against the Dallas Cowboys the previous week. They were a physical football team. A lot of the similar stuff that they did against Kansas City, they did against the Cowboys. And having that 2-quarterback system actually gave them a spark the previous week. And that's where in my opinion, where part of that was able to come together in the way that it did is simply because the Chiefs were able to, or the Texans were able to kind of keep teams off balance, because I'll tell you what, Kyle Allen was terrible. A couple of games I watched before that, Kyle Allen was awful. That guy's not a quarterback in the league, and he wasn't really fitting there. So the offense was able to be effective because of Driscoll and Davis Mills there. So I'm not surprised that the Texans were able to stay in it, and I'm not surprised that they had the showing that they did. There were some things they did blitz-wise against Kansas City that other teams are going to do, and other teams have attacked in various ways, and the Chiefs are going to have to get right on that. But, I mean, look, if you watched around the league on Sunday, there were a lot of teams struggling. The Jets really needed to win, and it came down to a 4th and inches where the Lions went on a 50-yard touchdown. The Bucs struggled against the Bengals. The Raiders-Patriots game was a very questionable ending.
That one was okay. Nobody cares about my fantasy team, but I really needed Devontae Adams to go to overtime, and that was insane. I have never seen a game end that way. I really wanted a band to run on the field while Chandler Jones was going into the end zone. I wanted him to knock over a trombone player, and then I wanted to interview that trombone player 20 years later about that play, because it's insane. I called my family into the room to watch a replay of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's ironic you say that, because that's what the announcer said, is there wasn't a band on the field whenever Chandler Jones is running back the other way.
Oh yeah, I had it on mute. I was still writing.
No. I'm not doubting you. I'm just telling you, like, Kenny Albert's like, well, there's not a band on the field, so this one's going in for a touchdown. This is the way he said it. Was funny, and it made a reference to that. So you weren't the only one thinking that. But yeah, and then like you take the Chargers-Titans game. The Titans made some questionable issues that the Chargers were able to burn them on. The Dolphins struggled with some questionable calls against the Bills. So, there's a lot of teams that are really struggling around the league, and there isn't anybody that's flawless is what I'm getting at right now. So I know people may say, hey, the Texans, the Texans are this, Texans are that. But with the level of success the Chiefs have, the Texans wanted to prove that last week wasn't a fluke. because they're all trying to keep their jobs too. So, I mean, was the urgency what I wanted it to be from the Chiefs at times? No, it wasn't. But, I mean, there were some other factors involved there that really kind of rolled that thing in the direction it did for a while.
Yeah, and I mean, the bottom line is, would you like to see the Chiefs dominate some of these teams a little bit more? Yes. Absolutely. Of course I would. I mean, I know, if only for your sanity, I would like the Chiefs to be up 35-0 at halftime and win 77-0 every week so that you would be less stressed on Sunday afternoons, Mr. Nick Jacobs. But that's just not reality, right? And the bottom line is the Chiefs managed to win the games they need to. And I go back to two things this time of year. One, like Clark Hunt alluded to it in his post-game comments, because look, the Chiefs have won the AFC West for 7 straight years. It's the second longest streak in NFL history, tied with the Rams of the mid to late 70s, and trailing only the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, New England Patriots for the longest streak in NFL history. So it's hard to one, we've talked about this before. We're picking at nits here. Two, the Chiefs are going to get everybody's best shot. But one of the other things that I always think about this time of year is there are a lot of guys, especially on bad teams, who are playing for their NFL lives. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are on bad rosters that know, they may not be in the league next year. They've got to put something on tape that shows that they can play in this league. So those guys are going to go out and play hard. Sometimes play a little dirty. Sometimes, try to push Travis Kelce's head into the ground after he, gets hit on a play. And then Travis Kelce stands up and somehow gets a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for, like taking exception to the fact that a dude was riding his head and bulldogging his face into, the turf. But I thought the Texans played really hard. And they did just enough against the Chiefs team that, their special teams remains an issue. Their pass protection remains an issue. And their defense just ain't great. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs still have Patrick Mahomes. And he seems to be able to do just enough most games to overcome, whether it's his own mistakes like it was last week when he had the 3 interceptions, or today when, it was a lackluster performance by a lot of other guys that were sharing the field with him.
Yeah. I'll go to the officiating part there first with Desmond King and Travis Kelce part. The way where I was disappointed in how it was handled is you either break them apart and you set the ground rules right there as an officiating crew.
Which is what they should have done. That should have been a no call. And they should have said, "Hey guys, knock it off," and you play on.
Or you throw flags on both of them, have it be offsetting, and let them know that you're just not going to put up with it. So you do either one. But I mean, it shouldn't just be one-sided the way that it was with King trying to smash, Kelce's face into the turf while he's trying to get up and mark a first down and everything like that. That shouldn't have been the case in that regard. And there were a lot of calls there by old Carl. For people that
he's getting cold. He's getting cold this year. There's just that's it. That's all. I talked to Santa Claus. It's cold for Carl Cheffers and his crew.
Well, either way, as long as the Chiefs don't have him as officiating crew in the playoffs and they don't grade high enough to be in the playoffs, that's actually number one on my Christmas wish list now. That is right there is to Carl Cheffers and his crew get to watch the entire postseason from their house and get to have the Monday Night Football game against the Chiefs and Raiders when fans were relentlessly booing them, haunt them for the rest of the offseason. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for in that regard towards Carl, because he's already messed up the 2016 playoff game with the Steelers whenever they made a lot of bogus calls there. And they're like, as Mick Schaefer and I were talking about, they're very letter of the law. Like, the way they interpret it exactly how it is when it's not. It's like, no, that's not really what that rule is intended for, but okay. So, I mean, they took over that third quarter against the Chiefs. And I'm not blaming the officials for the Chiefs' performance in a handful of things, but like they took over that third quarter, and I felt like they were going to get their retribution for the Monday Night Football thing, because the amount of times Carl's been memed and everything through social media, and how much he's probably heard during that time, I can only imagine he was going to get his payback.
Well, there were 5 or 6 flags on one drive alone after the Chiefs had taken the first lead of the game, and it got a little bit ridiculous there, for sure. But yeah, I agree with you. I just assume not see Carl Cheffers again on the field when the Chiefs are playing, and that would be fine the rest of the year. But when you watch this game, do you, first of all, I do want to remark on Patrick Mahomes. Dude went 36 of 41, franchise record 87.8% completion percentage. Finished the game with 20 straight completions. Went 19 for 19 in the second half, which is just silly. I'm not even sure my son and I could go 19 for 19 just playing catch, in the football field or in the field across the street. I guess, are you worried that this team and what you're seeing with the defense, with the pass protection, with Harrison Butker suddenly, with Harrison Butker having the worst season of his career, that something is going to trip them up in the playoffs? Or do you feel like this is a team that can still is still going to control its own fate when the season is on the line and is a legitimate Super Bowl contender still?
I mean, the team's given glimpses along the way that some of those hiccups could turn into problems when it matters, when they're facing the Bengals or facing the Bills, or maybe if the Dolphins have a day where the Dolphins are completely on point. And maybe the Chargers, since they're number 6 in the playoff picture now. I mean, there's chances there too for that to be the case. I mean, it's for the Chiefs, the pass rush is going to determine so much of their defense and what they can and can't do. I mean, for the most part, what teams are doing across the board collectively at this point is they're going after Orlando Brown, and they're going after his side. They'll occasionally go after Wiley, but they're really going after Orlando because they see how much it bothers Mahomes when his blind side gets messed with. So they're trying to get him. And the problem is Patrick can barely take 5-step drops without pressure already being there in the 5th step, let alone 3-step drops. And some of the routes the Chiefs called, especially in the 3rd and 4 when Mahomes got sacked there, I can't remember if it was the end of 4th quarter or overtime, one of the two. But whenever he got sacked, and I think he's in overtime. But when he got sacked there, a big part of that problem was they had routes that, were still developing. And on 3rd and 4, you got to have routes that are within 5-6 yards, and you got to have the ball out in a 3-step drop. And if you have to run pick routes, you run pick routes. But to have the wide developing routes that they did on 3rd and 4, and he's waiting for Watson to get up, and I'm like, no, you got to convert, and you need to give him routes that can convert. So I mean, there's just some play calling there at times that I'm like, that didn't help anybody convert that. And then the way they kind of shut it down there at the end of the 4th quarter, whenever they got really conservative there and wanted to put their trust in Butker to win it on a field goal, and it didn't work out that way. And the way Butker pushed both of those footballs. Yeah, and then like I said, pass rush on defense, linebackers, teams are going after the Chiefs linebackers, whether it's in the flats or with play action pass. They're going after the linebacking group in coverage, and they're making the Chiefs pay for it.
Yeah, it almost seems like Andy Reid is so unaccustomed to running the football that he doesn't know when to do it, right? Like the first couple drives, I think they threw on 10 of their first 11 plays when you're facing the worst rushing team in the league. Seemed like that would have been an ideal game to establish the run and try to get a lead early. Maybe bury a 1-11-1 football team, from the jump, right? Get up on them big, take a little steam out of them. Didn't happen. Once they did start feeding Pacheco a little bit, all of a sudden they start having some success. And then, of course, Butker misses the extra point at the end of the first half. And then, to your point, late in the game, when you'd rather see them like pass the ball and not rely on Bucker, that's when they're still running the ball. And it's like, man, if we could have just like flipped it, right? Like run Pacheco more early. And, maybe you're not even in a position where you have to worry about it late, but I still there's only one team in the NFL that has Patrick Mahomes. And as long as he's healthy, I feel like the Chiefs have a chance to win any football game when they step on the field. So I'm not going to panic. It's hard to win Super Bowls in the NFL. But just like all those years with the Patriots, I mean, the Patriots didn't win the Super Bowl every year, obviously, under Tom Brady. But once they got into the playoffs, you always felt like they're going to be a tough out, and they had to be considered one of the teams to beat because they'd been there before, they'd done it before, and they had the best player on the field. The Chiefs won the AFC West for the 7th straight time. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to have at least one home game. And I think when you've got that combination, they've got more than a puncher's chance of being the team that comes out of the AFC. I know, they've lost the Bills the last couple of years in the regular season. I know they've lost 3 times to the Bengals, as they've gone along here. But, I mean, they're 11-3, and their 3 losses are by a combined 10 points. This is not, in my mind, the Minnesota Vikings, who had a negative, who play with fire and are trailing in the fourth quarter of almost every game. I just don't think that I'm not ready to hit the panic button, except in one respect, and that is with the defense, because historically you see that these Steve Spagnuolo teams, they tend to start slow. And we talked about it in the 2019 season when Spags came along, that it would take some time to build. And then, you'd really have to reassess halfway through the season. And the last couple of years, you've gotten to the midpoint of the season. Then you've seen, whether it was bringing in Ingram or bringing in Mike Pennell, making a little personnel tweak, or just, him finally figuring out what the rhythm with his personnel group was. The Chiefs started to find themselves as a defense and started to play better down the stretch. Here we are 14 weeks into the season, and I don't know that we've seen that the last 5 or 6 games like you have the past couple years with these Spagnuolo defenses. So, if there's any area that concerns me, that's where it is, because I just don't see solutions to fix the pass rush. I just don't see solutions to, shore up the pass coverage. I mean, the things that, you and I have thought they might do to help against the run, bringing in Danny Shelton, or things like that, they have, for whatever reason, not been willing to do. So that's just the one area. They don't seem to have the answers like they have the past couple of years to solve the problems with that defense.
Yeah, and I'm okay if they're working on stuff behind the scenes creatively for when playoffs come around. To where maybe I see a package where Willie Gay and Leo Chanel are rushing the passer at defensive end spots, and Chris Jones is working inside with Karlaftis, and they have rotations for the Bengals and Bills for that type of stuff. I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with some exotic pressures that maybe L'Jarius Sneed magically ends up at linebacker in their nickel package, because he's a physical guy to begin with. And maybe they have a safety down in that spot instead of Nick Bolton with Willie Gay, and they do some stuff and they get creative. I'm okay with all that. And if they're listening over there in the front office, then, hey, take that. Feel free to write that down. Go for it. Swing for the fences. I think right now the questions they have to ask themselves is, are we willing to get creative on the pass rush and how we rush a passer? Or are we willing to take the training wheels off and let the corners kind of struggle at times if they have to? And then are you okay with running 3 and 5 step drops and leaning more on the run to get your offense through some of it? And are you willing to run under center a lot more, where it's more effective for Pacheco and for Ronald Jones, and kind of use McKinnon more as the shotgun running back for that part? If they're willing to do that, I think, they're going to have a good chance. And Valdez-Scantling made a massive catch in the end zone today where he actually extended his arms out and grabbed the football correctly the way that he did. and the way they saw it in and got his knee and elbow down and all that type of stuff. Like there's positives to take away from all this across the board. So I mean, we'll see what ends up transpiring. But I mean, we'll see what Dave Tubb and Harrison Butker and Tommy Townsend and James Winchester get the whole field goal thing figured out and quit pushing the ball left or right. And if they get the laces in the correct spot that they need to, and if there's a wobble on the ball or not, and how they approach all that. So I mean, that's going to be, because that's going to make some short yardage decisions in field goal range. They're going to have to make a decision on it. And Bucker keeps doing this over the next handful of games. He'll make the decision for him. Where 15 and the running game's just going to have to get it done.
Yeah, I do think it's important to keep the context that the Chiefs have won 7 of 8 games, and the one loss was by 3 points on the road at Cincinnati. And Patrick Mahomes has thrown for over 300 yards in 8 of the last 9. Like, they're still doing a lot of really good things, and they're still doing plenty to win football games. So I still think that I don't think anybody's going to – I don't think the Chiefs are maybe as formidable as they have been certainly in 2019, maybe even 2020 before the offensive line issues cropped up. But I don't think anybody's going to be thrilled to have to come through Kansas City or to see Kansas City coming through town come playoff time. I don't think that's going to be if you put all the teams in a hat and you shake them up and Kansas City's the team you draw, I don't think that would have been one of your top 2, 3, or 4 choices. You know what I mean?
But there is one team that I think would revel in that and enjoy it a great deal, though.
I mean, I think if I'm the Bills or the Bengals,
I was going to say the Bengals, man. For the way they were talking at the post-game presser, oh yeah, Bengals want to.
Right, I'm saying the Bengals. If I'm the Bills or the Bengals, I'm not scared. Those are the 2 teams I think you could make a case that I'd want to see those teams less. But I mean, the Titans, any of the teams that are up for the Ravens, especially with the way they've been struggling on offense, even before Lamar Jackson went out. The Dolphins with 3 weeks ago, the national media was trying to convince you that Tua was the MVP of the league. I think that's been exposed a little bit here in recent weeks. And then the Chargers, I mean, they just they seem to play every game with them seems to be close and underwhelming to me compared to what I think they should be doing. So look at it. I mean, I still think that the Chiefs are one of the elite teams there. The pass protection is going to be a problem, but I think it was always going to be a problem with Orlando Brown at left tackle. I do think Pacheco has found himself a little bit. And I look, I mean, he's been pretty darn consistent here lately with the production he's able to give them. And I think that, as long as he can clean up the ball security there, Andy will I think he'll become a little bit more comfortable leaning on him. And the part of the reason I say that is because, look, he whiffed he just completely missed a blitz pickup early in the game, and then he fumbled. But Andy didn't completely go away from him, and we've seen him completely go away from other running backs for less in the past. So I think Andy's got some faith in Pacheco right now, and like you said, we'll just see when it gets to the playoffs how much of that faith he has in him.
But they did send a message today by having him hang out on the sidelines for
Ronald Jones got his
longer than I expected.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, Pacheco's a hard runner. He's a spark plug for him. Like, he's good when they run under center. Where he loses is when he stretches stuff out. He allows the defense to catch up to him, and I mean, he's not going to outrun many defenders. Like, that's just not. He didn't have that top end speed like that.
No.
I know people argue about his 40 time and say, well, he runs a 4.37. You can run a 4.37 in a straight line, but I mean, in the NFL, he didn't have the breakaway speed like Tyreek and some other guys do. He's going to get caught on more times than not.
Right. There's no. I've seen him play. I've seen Tyreek play. I've seen McCole Hardman Jr. play. I can tell you who's more likely to get run down from behind, and it's Pacheco every time, and it's because he may have that, like you said, that straight line speed. It's not the same as functional NFL speed. I'll tell you what, like, it was good to see Kadarius Toney get back out there, get his feet wet, stuff like that. When they tried to run the jet sweep to Sky Moore inside the 5 earlier in I don't remember, third quarter, I think maybe. I was like, oh man, I hope get well soon, McCall.
Yeah, I think McCall will be fine. I think you'll see him soon.
Yeah, that'll be a nice little Christmas present, I think, for Chiefs fans. That maybe some of them didn't see coming last Christmas.
So we'll see how all that shakes out. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, the Chiefs were able to come away with a win, and I think, I know this sounds weird to me to say, and the numbers don't back it up, but I could tell Patrick early on seemed a little irritated with their showing. I think he really wanted to show in front of his friends and family and a lot of people in the state of Texas. Yeah. And I think the way that game was going there for a while, I think frustrated him, just because I think he really wanted to flex deep in the heart of Texas.
No, I'm sure he did, but then, at the end of the day, the Chiefs had 502 yards and 33 first downs. The Texans had 219 yards in the game. The Chiefs averaged 6.5 yards a game. Like I said, Mahomes completed 20 straight passes, set a franchise record for completion percentage. I'm not sure there's much more Patrick could have done. After last week where he forced a few balls, I thought he and Andy promised that they knew what they could change. He was patient, he was efficient, he was ruthless in this game, in taking what the defense gave him and cutting him to ribbons, man.
I think he's one of those razzle-dazzle, no-look underhand passes and from his friends and family. I think he's wanting one of those. And there were a couple times he's like, I better not do it today.
Well, and I think I will always wonder, I don't think he and MVS saw the option route the same on that one of those first drives. MVS started taking it toward the corner and looked like Pat either underthrew him or threw it, expecting him to go more out than up. If they connect on that, maybe the game is a little bit different. And, maybe once they get to the playoffs, they will connect on that one.
One can hope. One can hope that happens. One can hope a pass rush is a little better, that Tony and Hardman and the Sparks to take this offense back to the level. And, that Bucker gets everything all figured out. So they got 3 weeks to get it done before things get real.
Here's the thing. I would just not expect the Chiefs to dominate or blow people out. I think this is the way the Chiefs are going to have to win games this year. It'll be a bit more of a rock fight at times. And I think that's just who and what this team kind of is. So get ready for some really tense and nervous games down the stretch and really tense and nervous playoff games.
Well, and I mean, with the way the AFC South is designed, with the Colts, with the Titans, with the Jaguars, and with the Texans, all of them are just physical football teams, and that's always going to cause the Chiefs a little bit of problem with the way that division's built. And I mean, every single one of those games was within 6 to 7 points this year. Colts within 3, Titans within 3, and and then 7.
I think it was 10 against the Jags, but
the Jaguars 10, and then the Texans within 6. So I mean, all those combined, it was very physical with the non-Doug Peterson teams that they were going against. So yeah, I mean that was a tough division for them this year. And then we'll see them wrap up the NFC West this week, because I mean they blew out the Cardinals, they blew out the 49ers, they comfortably beat the Rams, and we'll see what they do against the Seahawks without Tyler Lockett, who's I think he already had surgery on his hand. So we'll see how that one shakes out after their battle against the 49ers on Thursday.
Yeah, no, it'll be I think the Chiefs are again in a good spot, in a comfortable spot. Wish the Dolphins could have done the Chiefs a favor and taken the Bills down
Could have that
Saturday
better
night.
play calling there at times or the snow
Yeah.
hit.
Yeah, and then I would have taken a blizzard-induced tie in that situation as well. And now you just
I
have
will
to hope.
never root for a tie ever.
No, I would have. I didn't say I was rooting for it. I said I would have taken it, Nick. And I would rather root for a tie than have to root for the Bengals on Monday Night Football in a couple weeks. But that's where we're at. That's the world in which we're living, Nick.
Yeah, no, that's the game. That's the game that's going to decide the AFC playoff picture. Like, I mean, you and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. That's it. That's the game right there. That's for all the marbles. I mean, I don't think the Patriots are going to give the Bengals a game next week, or at least it's not going to be that close. And I mean, we'll see what the Colts do against the Chargers on Monday night. But yeah, I mean, week 17. Bills at Bengals, January 2nd. That's kind of the game that one's going to be big, and then Dolphins Patriots that'll be a big one too. So I mean those two are gonna decide a lot of fates in the AFC.
All right. Well, all I got is congratulations to Messi, the Patrick Mahomes of international soccer. You didn't know. Me and my son are big Argentina fans, and I enjoyed watching them win their game before the Chiefs.
I mean, it was on while I was working, so I saw it. I wouldn't root either way.
The other football.
It was fun. It was entertaining. It was entertaining to see, and it went to PKs, which is my favorite. So, see, it didn't even tie there. They always settle with PKs, which they should do in the NFL. Don't just have field goal
kicking contest.
Yeah, back and forth. Good luck.
Do they
with
each
that.
kick the same direction?
I don't know. Do you want them to?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be in a PK off or a field goal kickoff with Harrison Butker this year.
I would like to see it instead of a tie. That's where it gets to. There's no ties. Once tie is over, you got to do field goal kicks.
Just like arm wrestling or something. Yeah.
Nope, field goal kicks. And there's no rush or anything. You just got to try to boom it, and you make them start at like the 50. I don't care.
If you had to pick a field player to kick instead of your kicker, I would like the Chiefs' chances with Justin Reed. So
see, and that could be part of the strategy. See, look, we're coming up with new ways to make the NFL game better.
Or like all 11 players on the field at the end of the game have to like try 32-yard, try extra points, and whoever hits the most extra points wins.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. I mean, you gotta
so do 5, 3, 5. Whatever.
Yeah, pick your best 5, and they gotta kick one each.
Yeah, we'll see. We can work on this. Let's get a proposal together and submit it on behalf of KSHB 41.
We'll keep workshopping it for the NFL committee.
There you go. All right, man. Well, I guess we'll be talking again on Christmas Eve. And until then, I will just look forward to whatever you got me for a Christmas present. I hope it's a hug.
It will never be a hug.
Don't spend money. Get me a hug.
Nope. I'm doing neither.
All right. Well, for the Grinch, I'm Tod Palmer. You take care, kids.